Hey everyone, this is the CS and PM monthly sync for November 2023, and we're going to kick it off with some product updates. Sam, you have the first one.
Yeah, I think so. This one is mostly a request for help, especially from any SAs who might be interested in jumping on this one and working with me on it. I've been trying to write up a guide on how to meet SALSA requirements within GitLab, and I could use some technical help. It's not quite ready to be shared broadly, both internally and externally, but it is getting close. And I think the big outstanding item is I'm just trying to work up like an example of a CI pipeline that might be able to potentially even achieve Salsa level 3 if possible. Some of those requirements are really sticky and a little bit tricky for us to address. We have some good roadmap plans that will hopefully help close those gaps, but I'm trying to do it with what we've got today. So yeah, if any of you are interested, feel free to reach out to me. It doesn't have to be on this call, but we could definitely use some help on that.
Falco, I see you're adding some comments to some links.
I'm not sure if everybody knows what the Salsa framework is. That's why I just put in the links, nothing else.
Great.
Just keeping notes, don't want to contribute. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Next up, you can now group by severity and status on the project vulnerability report. We're going to add some additional types of groupings in future iterations, which will include group by tool and group by OWASP top 10. And then we'll go ahead and add those to the group vulnerability report. And then we also did restructure the tool filter, which is updated again, also just on the project, and subsequent releases will be on the group vulnerability report. So instead of having to scroll to the bottom to see all custom types of scans, they're now grouped by type. So you'll see all of your SAS scanners, all of your DAS scanners in one group on that tool filter. Any questions with those two before we move over to Grant? Great, Grant, go ahead and take it away.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight some progress that we've made on compliance enforcement of security policies. We have a few features that will help to ensure that when a security policy is created, that it's enforced. It's not possible to circumvent the policy, and we're also adding essentially the capability to address a common compliance requirement to require multiple approvers on merge requests. And I was just gonna, whoops, it's gonna take a share screen real quick and show you guys. So I have open a test scan result policy that I'm creating here, and I wanted to call this one require two-person approval. And this is what we've added as a new option. Previously, we had security scanning and license scanning as an option. You can now choose any merge request. This way, you can target any merge requests that that relates to the rest of the requirements you specify in the policy. Previously, we were detecting results from these scanners and making decisions based on that. But now you can just target all of your merge requests, let's say for MRs targeting the default branch. You can also specify if you have some projects you want to add an exception for. So if you have, let's say, a particular MR that is getting blocked and it shouldn't be, you can add an exception. You can add a project as an exception, for example. And then you can also choose to do this just for unsigned commits. So if the commits are signed, perhaps you want to create a rule that's not as heavy-handed. So this is a new addition. You can then utilize this existing capability that we've had in previous milestones to enforce multiple approvers based on, for example, the role of developer and/or maintainer, or you could go with some of the other options if you want to specify individual users or a group. So depending on how an organization wants to define these policies, they have flexibility there. And then we've added these override settings. So for the projects where we're enforcing this policy, you can now override the project level settings so that we can ensure that policies can't be circumvented, for example, by a project owner who, say temporarily disables a setting to push through what they feel is a really critical hotfix or something. So this is a way to ensure compliance of the rules set by the organization, specifically where they need it, such as for those targeting the default branch. So this will override merge request settings, like ensuring that the merge request author can't also approve their own MR or the additional commits, etc. And then also you can prevent pushing and force pushing. So that way that ensures that all of the changes go through the MR process and that we can enforce this rule against it. There is an additional setting that we're working on in 16.7 to block branch modification, such as deleting a protected branch. So that's still coming through, but a lot of capability has been added here in 16.6, and I just wanted to highlight that. And since I already have this tab open, I was also mentioning a previous release. So in 16.3, we added a lot of new filters to our scan result policies that help to identify the findings that are most actionable for a business. So I talk through a lot of this in a blog post that I created, and I just wanted to highlight that for you all because there is a walkthrough and a lot of detail. So if that's of interest to some of your customers, you might want to check that out. And I think that covers all of my points. Any questions on that before we move on to the next updates? All right, we'll pass it on to Sarah.
Thanks, Grant. In 16.6, we're releasing 5 new proprietary browser-based DAS checks, and also removing the proxy-based ZAP-based checks at the same time. Customers don't have to make any changes to benefit from that. And as we complete all of that work, we're on track to remove proxy-based or ZAP-based DAS in 17.0. So we've made the deprecation announcement in 16.6 as well. We've also added a lot more detail to our dynamic analysis roadmap. So if you have a chance to look at that and give feedback in any way, whether you want to have a coffee chat or post a comment in our Slack channel, that would be very welcome. And then we're also working on a CIS benchmark. So CIS, the Center for Internet Security, is a respected nonprofit community-driven organization that creates benchmarks. In this case, it's around a 250-page document that helps explain how to securely configure a product. So in this case, GitLab. It's currently a joint effort between the product team and our security team, but we'd love help from anyone who wants to contribute. So if you want to get involved, feel free to ping me directly. Basically, you would assign yourself to an issue, and then that would correspond to a specific GitLab feature, and you would follow the format to explain how to configure the feature securely. So our goal is to finish the first draft of that by the end of December and then publish the benchmark itself in Q1 2024. And those are all the updates I have. So John, over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. So I guess before I begin, hey everybody, I am John Crowley. I'm the new PM for composition analysis. To jump in on our updates, 3 callouts for 16.6. The first one is ignoring issues that are not fixable for container scanning. This is just in an effort to reduce some noise for vulnerabilities that are identified that don't have a safe version that users can upgrade to or patch with. Next up is dependency and license scanning support for Java 21 SBT. And then the last item is showing CVSS vector information in our CSV reports. This was a direct customer ask, but it should provide some additional benefit for organizations that want to have this information available to them to make some vulnerability remediation decisions. And any questions on that? Otherwise, I'll throw it over to Hannah.
Is that reflecting the latest CVSS score at 4.0 or?
This will be CVSS 3. We have not adopted CVSS v4 yet.
Okay.
I believe it just became generally available, and there's like a feedback period. So I don't think it's being widely used, but it is something that's on our radar.
Cool, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so a couple things I will point out from the authentication and authorization side. For custom roles, we now have a UI where a admin or group owner, depending on self-managed or SaaS, can go in and create a custom role, give it a name, give it a description, save it, see what permissions it's made up of, and then also assign that role to a user in all of the various places within the UI that you can assign a role to a user. We've been supporting this for a while with the API only, but I feel like having the UI obviously adds some element of completion and usability there. So that's custom roles right now. And then we also have been rolling out service accounts. And we took an MVC approach, and these have existed for a while, but we continue to add features to make them more usable. This is API only right now. We're encouraging our users to either start using them if they're not, or possibly migrate existing project and group access tokens, which are tied to a user and will be forced to expire. I linked the blog post that I wrote about expiring tokens. That will happen in May if your customers aren't already on it. I hope they're not surprised. We've been trying to communicate. Service accounts will allow them to opt out of expiry if that's something they're interested in. And Falco, I see you have some questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, when we go with service accounts to my customers, my experience now is that they would like to have a notification, at least to the group of admins, when such a service account would expire, or when anything audit-wise would happen to that user. Do we have something like that that we can offer?
We have notifications stood up for project, personal and group access tokens because we are enforcing expiry, so we prioritize those getting done. We have an open issue now for email notifications for service accounts expiring. I'm actually not 100% sure how that works because under the hood, it's a personal access token. So I do think that there's still a notification generated for it. I'm just not sure because it's no longer tied to a user where it goes. That's honestly an open question. So we will get to this as soon as possible before May. You're right, we should prioritize this and make sure it's where would they would want it to go to the group owner or the admin, I assume?
Regarding of the level where it was created to the group owner, to the admin, yes, I would say so, yes.
Okay.
And second was directly also the question, they love that they don't need to expire this, but they came to this and also to external tokens because their IT securities came to them that every token needs to expire. So they were asking, for example, for CI scripts that could automate all the service accounts that they have in play and do this, yeah, without their need to do this at all. Do we have an example or blog post that shows the setup of something like this?
We don't, but if that's something that you're hearing that would be helpful, can you create an issue and tag me and we'll see if that's something we can do?
Absolutely, I will do so.
Okay, thank you.
Take that as an action. Thank you.
All right, Sarah, you're up.
I don't think Sarah Wellner is on, but she did want to call out some of the updates for static analysis, so we can look at those async. Unless there are any questions, doesn't look like from the group, then I think we are done with this portion. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.